let's move on to our final news story. And it's actually something which one of our supporters on the DF supporter program, Alan, the legendary Alan, put together. He was quite interested in putting together some community awards, and it all took place on our Discord on the DF supporter program, and we have results. And I think we'll start off by talking about non-games of the year. 2024 most hyped game. There's actually two games which are of equal importance to our supporters. Dragon's Dogma 2, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Interesting stuff, right? Any thoughts on that one, John?
Yeah, I mean, those are all, those are also high on my list, so I kind of agree. I would have to give the edge to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but both look awesome. Really excited for them. But I was happy to see, as the list goes down, there's some other really good stuff on there, like Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 is on there, which is nice to see. I'm also surprised to see Tomb Raider 1 through 3 remastered. But, you know, knowing the DF audience, I can absolutely see why they would be interested in playing something like that, right?
Yeah. I noticed Astro's Playroom VR is on there, which is news to me.
That does not exist.
Yes.
And I don't think it will exist. I'm not actually that confident that we're going to get something like that. But to me, that shows that that's what Sony missed on the PSVR 2 side. That game, the original Astrobot on PSVR 1 is the best game on PSVR by far, and still one of the most enjoyable VR games ever made, I'd say. And the fact that they weren't able to follow that up, and people love the included demo with the PS5 as well. Like that they didn't follow that up is insane to me. But at the same time, I would actually, I could see them having been working on a sequel to this, but my guess is that it would actually be a regular PlayStation 5 game and not a VR game, because
what about a hybrid?
No, that's a good point. That could. Yeah. The only thing that would mess that up is that it would take away some of the, like, a lot of the specific mechanics and things that happen in Astro rely on it being VR. But so it would lose some of the VR impact, but that's still feasible. But anyway, next category.
We're going to go for VR game here, including VR DLC. Winner was Gran Turismo 7 there. Which I don't think you can really argue with that, can you? Or can you? Because you've been doing a lot of VR playing and enjoying this year, right, John?
Yeah, actually, I'm more on the second choice here, which is C-Smash VRS. I think Gran Turismo 7 is perhaps a more impactful and insane kind of thing to play in VR, but it's also like, it's just adapting a non-VR game to VR, right? And it's cool to play it that way, but it's a slightly different category than a game made from the ground up for VR. And C-Smash, I think, is really freaking... I'm happy to see it here, because it's just a joyous game to play. I love the original on Dreamcast Arcade. I actually have the Naomi cartridge for it now, which is cool. And being able to play that in VR, and it's an original game too. It's got a lot of cool stuff in there. It's so fun. I think it's the most interesting and enjoyable thing that PSVR 2 got this year. So, okay. But they also put Gorilla Tag and Resident Evil Village on here. And Gorilla Tag seems to have captured quite the audience. I still need to try that. It looks very silly, but I haven't actually played it yet.
Are you doing much VR these days, Oliver?
I did play a fair bit of Gran Turismo 7, and it's one of the very few PSVR 2 games I've actually dug my teeth into. I guess it would have to be my number one VR game of the year.
RE4 just hit, dude.
RE4 VR just hit, and maybe I'll check that out later over the holidays. But GT7 VR, it's really well implemented, works fantastically well. I don't have it with a wheel, unfortunately. I sold my racing wheel some years ago, so I maybe need to try it with that. But it just seems
don't buy a racing wheel.
Yeah, that's always the classic advice. But it certainly seems like, a terrific conversion of the game to VR. So I'm not surprised that it would be number one. And of all the Sony first-party titles, it seems like the most compelling one by far. So I guess by default it kind of wins, or maybe the Resident Evil conversions would be up there. But yeah, it's slightly slim pickings, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Let's go on to the main sort of games of the year then. We'll start at number 3, Alan Wake 2. Number 2, Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Number 1, Baldur's Gate 3. I
Oh.
don't think you could really argue too much with that lineup, can you?
No, I mean Baldur's Gate 3 is a weird one. That's a game that could conceivably make a list that I might make, but due to the time commitment required, and I've only put like 20 hours into it, and I love it, but it's a game that I've not explored enough to say that, right? Like I kind of made it where I needed to play pretty much through the game before I could conceivably feel good with including it on a list. And that's one I didn't, but people love Baldur's Gate 3, so I absolutely understand that being the number 1 pick here.
Okay, cool. Any sort of feedback on that one, Oliver?
My own personal game of the year is a little bit further down this list than the top 3.
Yeah, don't spoil it. It's
I'm not
going
going to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil it.
Okay.
But I mean, overall, I mean, all the stars are here in terms of the top rated games of the year. Yeah, I mean, there's not too much to quibble with outside of the fact that Quake 2 is on here. I don't know about that. That does not seem like a game that was released in 2023, or at least not originally.
No, but it got that remaster.
Good to get that
remaster.
remaster.
Included that entirely new campaign.
Oh, that's
Machine
true.
Games,
That's true. That's true.
which was awesome.
Yeah. So maybe that
I think
counts.
the big shock here is that Spider-Man 2 was number 11.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only thing that really stands out. But yeah, interesting stuff there. Hopefully we can expand that next year because it was just a Discord only thing. So
Yeah, that was
maybe
fun.
sort of, good fun there.
Looking at the top 10 here, though, if we go to number 4, it's RoboCop Rogue City. 5, Resident Evil 4 Remake. 6, Super Mario Wonder. 7th is tied between Lies of P and Metroid Prime Remastered. Weird how we got a tie. We also got a tie for 8th, which is Hogwarts versus Hi-Fi Rush. Then we got 9, which is Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, followed by 10, which is Armored Core 6. And that's a lot of good stuff on this list, and some that you might say I agree with.
Fair enough.